Welcome to the Kortex Media Podcast, Marketing Accelerator, your compass for navigating the dynamic world of marketing and business growth. I'm Korson Schmidt, founder of Kortex Media. Our mission is to equip marketing agencies with the custom growth solutions they need to unlock massive revenue increases and scale their business. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today, we're joined by a true expert in driving measurable marketing results, Charlie Scott from Quattro Agency. Charlie brings over 2 decades of experience in the communications industry, evolving from traditional print to today's data-driven digital ecosystem. With a BFA in communication design, Charlie uniquely blends creative storytelling with business strategy, a perspective he honed in running his own agency, CSD Branding, for over 6 years. As a leader at Quattro, an agency celebrating its 21st year, Charlie is focused on delivering direct conversion-based metrics. Charlie, welcome to the show.
And thanks for having me.
Hey, no worries, Charlie. So I just want to go back to the beginning of your career again. So you started your career on more of the creative side and running your own agency, CSD Branding. But what initially drew you to the marketing communication side of the industry? And what was some of the most valuable lessons that you learned from being on the creative side and now in the communications and results-driven side of the agency?
A great question. So, yeah, I started my career. I had a passion for art and creative through high school and growing up. That was always something that I had some skills at. I will say my first critique, I was in high school and had Dr. Kirshner was the teacher. He was a really tough grader, and the way that they used to handle the art major program, he would rank order everyone's work on the wall at the end of the project, and we would go through and talk about it. And so we went going through the semester, and it wasn't until later in the semester we did a course where we got to use computers for the first time. I do not even remember what the program was because this was back in the early 2000s. It was not an Adobe Creative Cloud type of program. But it was at the end of that project, it was the first time where my work was rank ordered in the first position. Anything I had done with, crayon or paint or anything like that, I was always a pretty decent artist, but it wasn't until I used the computer as a medium. And that, for some reason, unlocked something in me, having, used this new medium. I was always good with computers and kind of the merge of the two. So that really fed my creativity. That's where I realized that I could do art through the computer. And so started down that path. I had some internships in high school and through college where I leveraged those budding graphics skills. And in those experiences, I learned a lot about the business side of things and how, the creative was really ultimately the action end of a lot of any of the strategy. And so that was always really interesting to me, being kind of at the end, you end up doing a lot more work at the end because the thinking is happening and the revisions are happening and things are coming together in creative. And that's ultimately how the end user takes in whatever that communication medium is. So I always had a passion for the creative side. Started out there. After school, I joined a small agency in Connecticut doing branding, packaging work, and they also had an interactive web division. So I taught myself how to do websites through that role. And in that and a lot of my prior experience, I had the ability to interact with clients. And in those interactions, I learned that I had some competencies beyond just design in understanding, client goals, their strategy, what they wanted to achieve through that piece of creative. And I found that really unlocked something else in me, this problem solving, trying to create solutions, creative solutions. And that as I continued to evolve in my creative career, that's really where I had a lot of ability that was maybe different than others, this ability to think that way, but also execute the creative. And so when I started to work for myself, that's where I gravitated pretty quickly, was into working with clients and then having a team of designers execute that vision against what it is that we plan. So that blend of creativity and planning was really realized through my role at CSD Branding. As I started the agency, I was doing a lot of freelance work and ramped up kind of client strategy, client communication side of things, working to drive new business for the agency and working closely with clients to understand what it was they were hoping to achieve, and then doing the design work, rinse and repeat. So that's really how that bridged that gap from starting in creative to, it was a pretty natural transition into more of the strategy side of things.
And that's kind of where you guys are now. So I just want to speak about Quattro and what you guys do specifically. So, I mean, you guys have been around for an impressive 21 years, which is quite a long time. And you guys have evolved from the direct to full funnel digital powerhouse, looking at every single aspect of the agency where they specifically need help. So I want you to give us a quick overview on your core services today, how you guys are maybe just today evolving from where you guys were to who you are now, and giving these full funnel services, these full funnel custom solutions for these companies that you guys do work with. If you don't mind telling us a little bit more about exactly what you do instead of me kind of giving a high level overview.
Yeah, of course. So typically I have a slideshow that I take someone through of our capabilities. So I'll do my best to paint a picture with words. Quattro is 21 years young, where we started our roots, founded by 4 founding partners who had spent their careers working in the financial services space, whether that was in credit cards, home lending, or insurance. They pooled resources together and started this agency. It was mostly on the back of really smart, strategic direct mail, finding audiences in ways that others weren't. They pioneered this idea of pre-mover marketing within the telecom space for the Comcasts and Verizons of the world, helping them to identify audiences that either were going to move or had just moved to help secure their telecom services. That backbone of the agency in direct marketing was really the foundation for growth. So as over the past 21 years, marketing has evolved, so has Quattro. So going from direct mail, it was a very natural evolution into doing email. So we did a lot of direct response work for clients, reaching out on a one-to-one basis to either their customer base or for acquisition purposes.
Yep.
As the advent of the internet hit, we pivoted, as did many agencies, into leveraging more digital media, but calling on our direct marketing roots. So everything that we do is focused on a client's bottom line and understanding their potential return or their opportunity on whatever it is they're spending with us. We focus very little on soft metrics or broad awareness. Typically, when somebody comes to us, they want to reach a specific target audience for a specific reason. They want to sell them HELOC loans, or they want to take out final expense insurance. We have very targeted media plans that we put into place, and we hold ourselves accountable along with clients for really what you mentioned, that full funnel metric, where we'll start with awareness, we'll drive leads, and then we work closely with clients to make sure that the lead quality that we're driving makes sense and that there is that pull through their sales funnel, because ultimately marketing and sales really need to work together in that full.
For sure.
So.
No, and I love what you guys are doing with that, because we're seeing a lot of solutions where people are putting together one-off things that they think are going to drive results, or they guarantee are going to drive results, but it isn't actually a thing that this company needs. The client thinks this is what they need, but it's not. So you guys take this full circle approach, sit down with the prospect and actually speak in depth and get in depth on what they actually need, and then helping them execute that as well. Because a lot of prospects will come to you and they'll say they need and want and I need to have this, let's call it A, but at the end of the day, when you get through the conversation, you know that B will drive results because you guys have done this for a similar company, for someone else, and it has worked 99% of the time. So I feel like that's a big gap in the marketing agency industry right now.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. I know we touched on this briefly in our pre-record session, but I think that's really one of the most powerful things that we have in our toolbox here at Quattro, and that's the ability to understand our clients' landscape, their competitive landscape as well, just understanding where it is that they are and meeting them within that space. We develop custom solutions. We don't have a Quattro platinum, gold, silver package that we really push clients into. What we do is we aspire to learn as much about their business as possible. And so what that means is understanding what their internal resources look like, their tech stack, their other agency partner ecosystem. Every client is a little bit different if you start to look at it through those lenses. Everyone has their idiosyncrasies. They have, which CRM are they on? Yeah. What does their web experience look like? Do they have an inside sales team or not? How does the life of lead, how does that work for each? Every group is a little bit different, and factoring that in is really important because there is no one silver bullet or skeleton key to unlock the most highly converting leads. I think what we find is we need to get as creative as possible within the paradigm that client operates. And so, like you mentioned, we sit down at the outset, we try to understand what they've done before, what they have access to, and then from there, we'll make recommendations of how we can best support their current system or help them to re-engineer that system. Yeah. But each time, we a valuable piece of our process is that understanding up front and coming to them with recommendations that we can't guarantee anything would work. I think guarantees would be very difficult to stand by, but what we can do is guarantee that what we're doing is custom for them and it's a solution that's tailored for them. We don't take, solution for company A, try to jam company B into it because everyone is so different.
Yes, exactly. Everyone's going through their own issues, and it's more about the listening factor and understanding where they are within their company. Like you said, everyone's in a different stage. So I think right now, Charlie, if you don't mind taking us through, I asked you to bring a case study. If you don't mind taking us through just one of them, just to show us your process and how you guys go about this discovery phase that you guys use with your clients to really understand what they're going through, what challenges they're having, what goals they have, and how you guys build these plans in place and then get the results at the end of the day, because that's what these companies are looking for. If you don't mind taking us through a quick case study.
Sure. So there's one that comes to mind. We had an opportunity to work closely with someone who we'd worked with in the past, Jared Jugstead. Okay. We worked very closely with him during his time at a large credit union, and he had an opportunity to join an entrepreneurial group that does direct-to-consumer HELOCs. It was a technology purchased by a large national lender, and they had a hypothesis that HELOCs could be sold all online. They created a really robust AI-powered application engine online, and the hypothesis was that if we drove the right qualified leads to this website, that without mortgage loan officer intervention, that they could drive loan activity simply because of the ease of use, convenience, and quick application. They had a lot of great technology built into there around automated valuation, and they could get someone through the application process in as little as minutes, like less than 10 minutes. You could get through the application, and in doing so, they could quickly ascertain whether you qualified for a HELOC or not. And then if you fit all of the best case scenario loan criteria, it was possible to be funded in as little as a few days. So their value proposition was go through the application in minutes, get your money in days, tap your home's equity. And so they have a very successful wholesale business. And so they're brought loans from correspondent loan officers, and that is the majority of their business. Without cannibalizing that, they also wanted to explore what would happen if they opened this direct storefront with a website. And so we worked very closely with them from the outset to determine what would be the right type of marketing mix, the right type of leads, audiences to go after. How would we set up their retargeting program? How would we help them lay out the website? And so we worked very closely with them. It's around this time last year for a few months to get the website presence set up, all of the ad units where they needed to be. We did all new branding for this initiative, and we were able to launch fairly quickly at the beginning of this year and put into place that test. And I think one of the things that we were most excited about is that the lead volume and lead quality was such that we beat all of the benchmark expectations that we set out at the beginning. And I think where we did a lot of learning was in the bottom funnel conversion metrics and what it would take to convert a lead through a website only. It's a very high touch buying process with these HELOCs. And I think we learned a lot about what it takes to push a lead through. And one of the big learnings was it's very difficult to get someone to take out a HELOC without there being any sort of intervention of a loan officer or expert to answer questions along the way. It's a complicated financial product to purchase. And so really, I think the two things that we were most proud of is, one, that we stood up this brand new business in relatively short order, and then two, that the marketing worked, that we were able to prove out that we could send the right lead volume, the right types of leads, and we learned that operationally the business would need to intervene at some point along the way in order to have higher conversion rates.
Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. And that's a very unique story as well, because it was someone coming with a new product that is a little bit different. You guys didn't know really what direction to go with it. But you guys sat down with their team, with your team, and kind of figured something out, really mapped it out, and even exceeded the goals that you guys had sat down with. So it's really an amazing story there, Charlie. And I want to dive into, you talked about automation within that, and that's huge within our industry right now. AI and automation, obviously we can't get away from it. It's the buzzword of 2025, I guess you could call it. But without getting too much into it right now, what are some of the biggest trends or shifts within the market or within the industry, that you're seeing at the moment that are affecting Quattro, that are pushing Quattro in different directions? What are some of those biggest shifts and trends you're seeing right now?
I would say the biggest is that second word you mentioned, that's AI. I think for us, we do a lot of really great work in the organic search space. And so what we have been seeing over the past 9 months to a year has been a huge shift in how consumers search, how they take in information. And as a result, we see that shift. We almost saw it in the data before we were able to understand what was happening. So we saw that impressions were still up, that we were still getting a lot of eyeballs on search results pages, but our clicks were going down. This is about a year ago. We're trying to understand why, and I think pretty quickly through looking at the data, we realized it was zero-click conversions. The AIO, the AI overview at the top, the Gemini results for Google at the top of the search results page, people were getting their information right there. And they weren't scrolling down, having to find the website with the information and consuming it there, thereby landing on your site, getting you a click, can you pixel that person and chase them via retargeting. And so I think as a result, what we see is just fewer clicks through organic. So just a lot of change there. And then when we start to track that even more, we see that the sales cycle is maybe a little different. We see now some of our data shows that people are doing their research within the Perplexities or the Chat GPT. They're asking their long-term keywords, their long tail, and then they're coming back via Google. They're a little bit more informed. And so what we see is more highly converting keywords that are specific and that are indicative of somebody who's done the research already and that's ready to push further down the funnel. Mm-hmm. And so just the search world in general, organic search is changing, paid search is changing. And I think the AI stuff just continues to evolve. I saw recently, I think Perplexity tried to figure out how to monetize the paid search angle within their platform, and then they quickly walked it back. So there's a lot changing in that space, not only AI for creative, but AI for how people interact with information online and how they search.
Yeah, it's quite the landscape, and it's something we're not sure where it's going to go yet. Like you said, like with SEO and GEO, it's a landscape that is very much, we don't know what direction it's going to be. Like back to what you said, a lot of people, even myself, I'm using it like to do research before purchasing something, or just to educate myself on a product before purchasing it as well. It saves clicking on the website, looking through the reviews, and etc. You can get all that information at the touch of a finger, so why wouldn't you use it? But yeah, like again, we don't know how it's pulling this data, or what is the driver of pulling the data from your website. And we don't know maybe what are those main questions that people are asking on these LLMs that we have to put into our blogs that are going to get that attraction into the LLM from our keywords in the website as well. Like it's a very unknown spot right now within the SEO and GEO side of things. And then AI as an automation, as in creative and etc., is just beginning as well. And we're seeing a lot of agencies, businesses in general, turn towards these automations, and it's been incredible how much time a lot of these companies have been able to save with automation and AI, and then even looking at data as well. So we're both in the marketing space, and we a lot of marketing that has to be tracked by data, or I mean, you should be tracking by data if you're within the marketing space, and how quick you can give it your results, give it exactly what you have, and how quick you could prompt it to give you an opinion on what to try next, or what didn't work, or why it didn't work. It's pretty crazy just to get that opinion very, very quick at the snap of fingers without you sitting down doing the math and figuring it out, right? So AI is incredible, and for where it's going to go in the future, we don't know, but it leaves some very great opportunities on the table for a lot of companies, for a lot of people as well. You guys at Quattro, how are you guys leveraging it to make things more efficient, make things a little bit easier, maybe take some loads off of some of the people within the company? How are you guys really leveraging this crazy tool of AI?
Great question. I can expound on that a little more. I want to touch on something you were talking about there. One of the more interesting ways I've seen someone at Quattro leverage it is our VP of Creative, Brett Merrick. So one of the things that he does, not only for reaction to metrics, but on the creative end, he's worked with ChatGPT to create various personas to kind of create a faux focus group, is the word I was looking for. So what he'll do is he'll create a focus group have AI look at any one piece of art or multiple concepts via these personas that he'll create and ask for feedback. You know, if we're looking to do a big campaign, we're looking to reach an audience, put that creative in front of this faux focus group and get some at least initial opinions. It was a pretty creative and interesting way, I think, to leverage AI outside of just the metrics side of things. For us, we use, as an agency, our kind of AI policies are that we use it like a tool, but what we don't ever do, or what we can infringe upon, is we have very strict MSAs in place with a lot of our clients. A lot of our clients are in the financial services space or are in heavily regulated industries. And so we take that very seriously. And the way that we leverage AI is not to create content for them, because at the end of the day, we need to be able to stand behind and have provided them copyrighted information that is then theirs. They own it. If AI creates it, we can't guarantee that. And so what we'll do is we'll leverage AI to do things like double check work. We have a proofreading process that will take into account AI. We have an AI checker that we use for any blog content that we're writing that will help us to gauge whether, even if it's human written, if there is anything in there that could be construed as being written by AI and potentially dinged by some sort of search results, or in the future if there was some sort of issue. So trying to safeguard against anything that way. We leverage AI to do actual creative output. So we've recently done a series of very fun mythical creature billboards for a client, where we used AI to create said mythical creatures in the style and the type of creature that was appropriate for the campaign. Being able to dictate to AI the imagery to create. Brett and his team will use it as simply as removing background elements or making compilations of stock images to make them a little bit more custom, things like that. Where we have the licensing in place because it's through Adobe stock and it's leveraging all Adobe imagery, that we're able to do that in a copyrightable, safe way. So.
No, that's amazing. Now I want to go. It was Brett, right?
Yes.
The way Brett uses it for his copy, making these personas of different people within ChatGPT or whatever LLM he's using, is pretty incredible. And it's a super smart way to maybe test a creative before you even push it out there, just to get a second opinion. Again, AI is such a great tool to use as an opinion, as long as you prompt it in the right way. Like you said, he uses different personas. So that is actually an amazing way of just getting an opinion on it within different point of views as well. So that Brett, pretty smart for that one. That's amazing.
I'll let him know you said that. He'll be happy to. Another way that we use it that's probably a little less, it's more mundane, I would say, less creative, is we've been using it for a few years on the account side. If we have big meetings, or if we're doing a big group brainstorming session or strategy session with a client, we'll be able to record the meeting, and then using a transcription service. We use Fireflies. There are a few others out there. I think even Google has their Gemini built in notes. But taking notes, and it's probably been almost a little over 3 years we've been doing this, so that you can be a lot more in tune to the meeting and not worried about being a stenographer and typing notes of every single thing that's happening. You really be engaged in the meeting, and then allow AI to have that transcription. You can reference it later. You can get an AI meeting summary out of it. But that's a more mundane way that we've used it. But I think it's a strong tool for us on the strategy side to be able to be engaged in the conversation without feeling like we're just there to take notes.
Yeah, for sure. It's been I use Fireflies as well, and it's been a game changer because you have all that information you need. Like, so say, because I do podcasts, we get on pre-podcast call, and I'm like, I need to get to know Charlie. Let's hear about his business. Let's hear about Quattro. I don't have to sit down and write any notes. I can focus on my conversation with Charlie. We can become good friends while I have my friend Firefly is taking all the notes for me that I can look back on, to use to make a nice introduction, to make a nice script, and just look back on the conversation we had on what they do specifically. And it just makes it that much easier to navigate that playing field. And just like if you look at CRMs and automation, it's crazy what you can do now within funnels for automating your intake forms into your CRM and automated messages. It's pretty incredible how much time you can save within your funnels as well. As long as you take the time to build them out. That's the only thing, is it takes a while, but if you get it down pat and you have a solid system, you're saving a lot of time, maybe saving one or two people in your company. You just need one person to either build automation or make sure the automations don't fail. And if they do fail, just go through and make sure it's good as well. And that's been a huge factor that I've seen. I mean, it's been around for a few years, but it's just getting better and faster every single day with less mistakes.
Oh, yeah. I agree. My boy Fred Fireflies, he hooks it up. I agree. I've been a pretty power user for the past 3 years, and it has only gotten quicker, better, the integrations. And I think one of the things I love about it the most, that time saving, I can remember keywords from meetings and just go in and do a search function and boom, find where it was that we were discussing competitors, and be able to do quick reference in a way that in the past I'd be flipping through a notebook trying to make sure that A, I took that note so that I could remember, and B, trying to find it in my notes.
Yeah.
So speed is definitely a factor.
Yeah, it's a huge help. Now, this is the main question I like to ask for this industry trend type part of the podcast here, Charlie. And it's for marketing agencies who are looking to scale their customer acquisition right now, scale their lead generation. What seems to be that go-to? Because I mean, there's a huge drive towards meta ads, and it does have great results, but it can be expensive if you don't understand it, it could be expensive. There's a lot of ways you can do it. It all depends on who you are and what you're doing. But for you guys right now, Charlie, what seems to be that go-to for lead generation or client acquisition today?
It's a great question. I just want to make sure I'm framing my answer correctly. Are you looking for, from an agency standpoint, what do we do for new business that's working, or for our clients, what are channels that we find that are best for lead acquisition?
Let's keep it more towards a agency aspect, because most of the people who are joining me are agencies, and
Perfect.
I'm hoping more of the people that are listening will be agencies or within marketing in general. So let's just go from an agency aspect. What seems to be the go-to for that?
Sure. I'm going to probably flip the script a little bit, because I think what I'm going to say, nothing to do with meta. We don't run any meta ads. I hope I'm not giving away any secret sauce here, but I think what we do best and where we find our best leads, our best relationships, they come from trust and relationships. So our greatest lead source is our current clients, our past clients. We endeavor to do great work for the clients that we have. We really love our clients. We try to over deliver. We're always focused on results. If we make our clients look good, we look good. We want everyone to look good, and we want to have long tenured, successful relationships. We have some clients that have been with us for 17 of the 21 years we've been in business. And so
Wow.
I think one of the things I'm most proud of is our ability to, maintain healthy client relationship, continue to drive value on an ongoing basis. My point about trust is what we do is we do try to deliver every day, because what happens is our clients, just like in any industry, move from one company to another. There are layoffs. And I think one of our best sources is just having a strong network of people that trust us to do work, and being there to pick up the call when they call and have moved on, continuing to help them as they transition from one place to another, being there to build trust through having delivered results. And I know that's probably not the best, hey, go out there. It's a tried and true method of relationship marketing. And
Yep.
It's hard to say it another way. It's phone calls, it's text messages, it's staying in touch, having them know that you care and they care, and it's much stronger relationship driven. I had someone called me probably 2 weeks ago that said, Charlie, I remember working with you. This is probably 6 years ago now, and you did X project for me. I need to do that now in my new role. Can you help me here? We need to pivot our sales strategy to be less features and benefits and more value. What value does our end consumer get from this? You've helped me do this before. I need you to help me do it again. And so I would say it's doing great work and building and maintaining trust in your relationships. So
For sure. It's the best marketing at the end of the day, right? Your network, your referral base. If you do good work for a company, like you said, so say that company that you guys have been working with for 17 years leaves you, they're not going to have anything but amazing things to say, and probably bring a lot more people to Quattro to work with you guys. Even if they're still working with you guys, they're still going to spread that word because they know you guys do good work. You're there to grow with them rather than trying to grow yourself. And that's where I see the difference between a marketing agency and a growth partner, or a results driven agency. Is that you're there to be invested into the business growth, and you're available to pivot, like you build custom growth solutions, and I do a similar aspect of it. But you guys are building custom solutions, and I'm assuming if it didn't work, you guys are going to pivot to find what works so they can get their return on their investment. They can grow and get the results that you guys are driving to get towards and hit those goals that they're wanting to. And that's all part of it, right? Is just being invested with them, invested in their company, invested in their goals, and pivoting until you get to that destination that they're wanting to get to. And that's the difference between a marketing agency and a growth partner. Is that right there.
And I think you touched on a really important point in a way that we structure a lot of our engagements. And so from a media standpoint, we like to operate as that fiduciary, being in the same seat as our client. What we do is we typically structure the engagement so that we're on a retainer basis, not like a flat fee almost. Mm-hmm. So we're making recommendations based on what's the right channel, the right metrics, what's happening in the campaign. We don't, we make all of our recommendations on behalf of our clients. We want to be in a more advisory role than making money because we recommended to increase the budget on Reddit. Well, if we make money on commission, of course, our recommendation is always going to be increase the budget, because you increase the budget, we're going to make a little bit more money. Yeah. Where I think we really ingratiate ourselves and where we pay off that idea of wanting to build trust is by actually walking that walk and saying, well, look, here's what we need to do. We're going to pivot to here. It's no more or less money in my pocket. This is what we think is the right thing to do for the campaign. Or this isn't working, we need to pivot. Or this is working, we need to dump a poorly performing channel and put more into this tactic that's working.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's all about pivoting, because that's what marketing is, right? What works today is never going to work tomorrow. And
what works for one client or industry isn't necessarily a guarantee to work for the same type of client in the same industry.
Exactly. So putting together these custom solutions is super crucial to make sure that the client or the prospect is being listened to, because a lot of them don't trust us as agencies anymore because they got screwed over once, or because it didn't work once. So they don't want to go down this path again. They just want to stay in their referral trap, but they're not going to be able to grow and hit the goals that they want to. So building these custom solutions and having that transparency and that trust helps us move forward with these companies and show them direction they can go, as long as they let their guard down and let someone else not someone else take the reins, but let someone take the reins with them and guide them through the correct process. And that's one of the biggest challenges in the industry, is building the trust of these other companies. Sorry, I cut you off there, but because a lot of companies have gotten screwed over or didn't get the results they were looking for, it's tough for us other agencies who are trying to actually get measurable results for companies to continue moving forward and get the trust from these companies. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing within the industry right now, Charlie?
No, I think I've got 2 points. One, I'm going to riff off what you were saying, which is I agree. I think one of the more difficult things that we encounter is coming into a new client relationship and dealing with some baggage from a former agency. We 3 or 4 of them right now that we are working through. And I think one of the toughest parts is in that onboarding, being able to be empathetic to them getting burned and understand, yes, it happens. I'm sorry it happened to you. And it makes it very difficult for them to then trust that us as an agency, that we're going to act as a fiduciary or act in their best interests, because whoever had done it previously, that was not the case for one reason or another. And I think what ends up happening is we put a little bit extra elbow grease in there. We try to be a little bit more, have more candor and transparency, and really work to get them to see our value. And sometimes it's just being consistent, and that follow through of continually proving value and continuing to do great work. And I can think of one client I started with around this time in 2024. We took over their website, and in doing so learned that the last agency hadn't set up any of their plugins for WordPress. They had downloaded them and never installed them. We found that there were a lot of they had like 3 different staging environments. There were all sorts of different kind of worst practices in place. And so what we were able to do is very quickly show them maybe some places where there needed to be improvements, and not only show them, but move very quickly to fix any of those issues. And I think in doing so, they saw that, we were willing to point out where there were issues and then resolve them and move forward. And every conversation, every opportunity we have with them continues to prove we're operating in their best interests. And your actions speak louder than your words. So a lot of times it's doing it, and in doing the work, you build the trust and you gain that partner for life kind of thing.
For sure.
You got to prove it. I think industry trends wise, as it relates to that, as AI becomes a bigger factor, as the way that internal work groups change, as the way that agencies change, as the way that the world in general is evolving very quickly with this stuff, I think what that will do is open up some disparity between those that get it and those that don't, because AI will come in and be able to be this kind of great equalizer, bringing everyone to a level of parity where everyone has access to AI. It's how they leverage it. And then from there, you're still going to need trusted advisors, because AI doesn't operate in a real world. It operates kind of in a vacuum. It can understand what it can understand, but the application of what it's recommending needs to have human intervention at some point. And so I think that's where there's a huge opportunity for being more strategic. I've worked with some clients recently who have provided us with project or campaign briefs that were entirely created by AI. And I think one of the challenges that presents is needing to digest and understand what it is AI is recommending, but then also look at it through the filter of what's achievable and what's pragmatic. Sometimes AI doesn't understand all of the idiosyncrasies of a client's business, what their tech stack looks like, all of the things that we talked about at the outset that you need to understand to make a recommendation. Well, it's not coming in with that perspective. And so it'll make recommendations, and on paper, it'll look like a marketing strategy. And, if you were just to read it on its face, okay, this looks like a marketing plan. But then as you start to peel it back and understand, well, we don't have the ability to send these types of emails, or how would we achieve this, or, what audience would get it, really unpacking it and trying to get to the bottom of maybe what Claude or ChatGPT or Perplexity was thinking. And so it's been interesting to kind of work in this time and understand what it is that a client wants, while also factoring in what their AI wants, and ultimately at the end of the day needing to package up something that makes sense and that's achievable. So as far as future trends, I think that's kind of going to be an interesting one, of how AI assistance gets you to only a certain point, and then what level will humans need to be a part of, and how much will everything be able to be automated? What makes sense to automate versus what doesn't? I think that's going to be a big learning factor over the next few years, is where do you need human touch and where do you not? And I think a lot of it will be driven by consumer behavior and what makes sense, what consumers are willing to accept, as far as that whether it's creative messaging, how much AI are they going to be willing to accept in their lives, and when will they start to reject it or react in a negative way or have a negative opinion? I also, without getting on too much of a soapbox, I'm also curious to see where everything goes with
definitely
bringing everyone to parity. I've had a lot of conversations with clients about this, where if they want everything AI, well, if everyone is all AI, at what point is there any meaningful differentiation between what's being produced? At some point, you need to determine what's different. If everyone's differentiating factor is that we use AI or that we're AI driven, well, why do I choose company A versus B if they're both telling me the same thing? How, from a company differentiation standpoint or brand values, how do I know which company resonates with me if everyone is kind of bringing it to the same level? At a point, I feel like it will flatten the playing field, and then we'll need to kind of retool and figure out how to make the leap from AI. Right now, it's who's using it versus who isn't. Once everyone's using it in the same way, what's going to be the next level from there?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think we're going to see a lot of companies. Yeah, they want to be like super automated and they want to be AI driven, but I think we're going to have the companies that are going to be AI driven and the companies that are going to be AI driven with a human touch to make it feel more personal, to make it feel person to person, because people want to buy from people. People want to talk to people. I mean, they don't want to talk to people. They'd rather have it more convenient, go on their computer, obviously. But people
Sure.
want to deal with people at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
I think it's the companies that still have that more of a human touch to it, instead of having the very basic automated message or follow up or email or etc. They're going to have something that is very relatable, very friendly, very easy, that still has a human touch to it. Someone that's just one expert to look over this AI information that they're maybe sending out to their consumer, to just change it a little bit and monitor it, and still making it more efficient, but adding that personal human interaction, basically. That's my opinion, but it's a landscape that we don't know. Like you said, everyone is kind of going to become par, and we're going to see who's going to elevate that. But it's an amazing tool, and you talked about the future. We don't know where it's going to be, but what does the future look like for Quattro? What is your guys' big goal? Where do you guys want to see yourselves in the next coming years?
It's a great question. If you had asked me this question last October 28th, I likely would have had a different answer. Say last October, I wouldn't be talking to you at all about GEO, AIO, AEO, SEO, the alphabet soup of the new kind of AI search. So I think for us, that has been what's really new, is evolving our practice over the past 6-9 months pretty incredibly, from a very robust SEO practice. We do technical SEO, on-page SEO for content, anything that's going to get a company organic results. And now that has evolved incredibly over the past, just since this time last year. It is markedly different, and we are doing a lot to help companies to be seen in the GEO space, to understand the landscape of how they're being shown in these LLMs versus their competitors. Or what we see right now is actually a lot of third-party representation, a lot of sites, that are either aggregators or they're referral sources. For our financial partners, it's the nerd wallets of the world, where they have a lot of content, a lot of domain authority. They've written a lot on these topics. And so, as you can imagine, in their GEO results, they own that space more so than any single brand, bank, mortgage company, et cetera. We just see that there's an evolution happening there. We want to make sure that we're helping clients to be seen, and especially for their own branded keywords, but even more so making sure that they're a part of that conversation, almost not just for the FOMO of it, but so that they're not left behind. And I do wonder if there's going to be a world in the next year or less where almost, if you don't show up in these LLMs, if it's like the early days of Google, if you're not on Google or you're not on page 1 of Google when somebody's searching, it doesn't matter. And so that, I think, is soon going to be our reality. So that's our kind of current. Our future from there is, how does that start to impact what it is that we do? I would say we have evolved into more of a digital agency, and we've evolved more into an agency that understands AI and that leverages AI in a smart way while still delivering results, or human-powered results, for clients. We're AI assisted. I don't think we'd ever really turn into AI only, but I don't know. This would have been this time next year. We'll have to talk, and I'll let you know what's changed.
There's going to be a lot changed. We already know that. Look at the jump we've had in the past.
Change is the only constant. That's for sure.
Yes, definitely. That was great. What is some of the best advice you have for young upcoming entrepreneurs, maybe people that are just taking their first steps into marketing? What is some of the best advice you have for these young individuals wanting to get started in this massive industry where there's so much knowledge and it's very experience driven industry as well? What's some of the best advice you have?
I would say get out there and do it. One of the things that I think holds people back is, the ambiguity of not knowing, of failure. I would say, if you want to know how something performs, try it. Run a test campaign. Run a Google search ad program yourself. Understand how it works. I would say just doing something to that extent will make you feel a lot better. For the entrepreneurs that are listening, I think one of the things that I think about from my time working at CSD, I sat on an entrepreneurial panel for Syracuse University back in 2012, and I think the advice I gave that audience will still reign true today, and that's if you don't do it, you have to pay somebody else to do it. And so if you're a business owner, you have a very, you have a limited budget, limited time that you can apply to things. Someone asked me a question about, I'm an entrepreneur, where do I spend my money? I need help with a website, I need help with this, I need help with that. And I think ultimately, if you are an entrepreneur, one thing you need to understand is what you're capable of doing yourself, what you need to outsource. And then if you are outsourcing, you're paying somebody else to do something. If you're not doing it yourself, you're losing out on that money. And then you're also losing out on whether it's control or knowledge or that piece of your business. And so when you do think about what you're going to outsource, I would recommend that you make sure that it's something that isn't an integral piece of your business, because I would argue it's almost equally as valuable for someone, if their business is an online business, for them to understand their website, for them to own it in a way. Outsourcing it to a professional, you're then beholden to that group, and they own the keys to your online retail presence or your interaction with the general public. So if you have a website, own it, know it. That's your conduit to your consumers. And then just in general, I would say continue learning, have a passion for trying new things, kind of like a never give up type of thing. Marketing is not easy. I think I said this earlier. There is no one skeleton key that makes sure that everything works. And so it's being able to tackle that ambiguity, a piece of entrepreneurial advice. There will be a lot of noise. There will be a lot of things that you need to deal with as a sole proprietor, as a business owner. Every day you'll get emails, phone calls, etc., trying to distract you from what your main mission is. And I think that one of the toughest things as an entrepreneur is to put on blinders, put on your earphones, and ignore some of the noise and be able to focus on what drives your business forward, what drives customer acquisition, what drives you forward, and let the noise kind of slip away. You've got to deal with things quickly, deal with a problem, and move past it. You can't let stuff drag you back, because that momentum, you need to be constantly moving forward and dragging everyone else along with you. And that's kind of the power of an entrepreneur, is being able to deal with that ambiguity, move forward, because any one of these distraction things on either side will ultimately only detract from your mission. So.
Amazing. Thank you, Charlie, for speaking this advice, and I really hope it finds value in someone who's just beginning their journey. Final question: where can people get in contact with you, Charlie, if they want to learn more about you? Where can people get in contact with Quattro if they want to learn more about Quattro? What does that landscape look like for you guys and yourself? Sure.
So best way to reach me is probably through LinkedIn. So that would be, you can find me at linkedin.com /in/Charlie Scott Jr. Or through Quattro directly. C. Scott at quattro.agency. Our website is https ://quattro.agency. Check us out. Would love to connect and open to networking and talking to people. Any advice I can give or any questions they may have to supplement this conversation. But Korson, thank you very much for having me on. This has been really fun. Great conversation.
No, thanks for joining me. Thanks for sharing your experience, your knowledge. It's been great I hope a lot of people take some little nuggets from this conversation and just helps them excel within their marketing journey, within their entrepreneurial journey. Just want to say again, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. And I look forward to staying in touch, Charlie. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Korson.